All right, we need the agony over with. Just tell us which house is the winning house.
After much deliberation, we're gonna pick the...
Two-story house.
In the glittering world of home renovation television, where twin brothers Jonathan and Drew Scott have captivated millions with their charm, expertise, and seemingly endless energy, there exists a third Scott brother whose story has largely remained in the shadows. James Daniel Scott, known to most as JD, is the eldest of the three. Born in 1976 in the Vancouver area of British Columbia, he arrived into a family that would later become synonymous with HGTV success. Yet, while his younger brothers built an empire on camera, JD navigated life as the trailblazer, the supporter, and eventually, the silent warrior battling a mysterious illness that nearly claimed his life. This is not just a tale of celebrity adjacency. It is a profoundly human story of resilience, love, and the quiet strength required to endure when the spotlight never quite reaches you. The Scott family's roots run deep in a blend of adventure and discipline. Raised on a horse ranch in Maple Ridge by their father Jim, a Scottish-born former stuntman, assistant director, and karate instructor, and their mother Joanne, the boys were immersed in a lifestyle that demanded toughness and creativity. Jim instilled martial arts in all three sons from a young age. JD began training at 8, eventually earning his black belt alongside his brothers and even teaching classes. Ranch life meant early mornings, physical labor, and a sense of responsibility that came naturally to the firstborn. But childhood was not without its hardships. As the oldest, JD often faced challenges head-on, including severe bullying that tested his spirit long before fame touched his family. The twins, Jonathan and Drew, born in 1978, followed in his footsteps but quickly developed their own dynamic. The family shared a close bond, filled with humor and affection. Over the years, a running joke emerged among them. JD was the best-looking brother, the one they supposedly kept under the stairs like Harry Potter to avoid him stealing the show. Drew would playfully call him the Brad Pitt of the family. On the surface, it was light-hearted banter, but it hinted at a deeper reality. JD operated in the expansive shadow cast by his charismatic siblings. He embraced it with grace, often redirecting attention to others, particularly his wife, when discussing feelings of being overlooked. As the Property Brothers phenomenon exploded, JD was far from a bystander. When Jonathan moved to Las Vegas, he encouraged his older brother to join him. There, JD forged his own path in the entertainment and hospitality worlds. He worked as a blackjack dealer, performed as a celebrity impersonator channeling the likes of Adam Lambert and David Bowie, and drew on his teenage experience in a Canadian sketch comedy troupe. Performing was in his blood. He co-founded the Scott Brothers production company in 2002 and served as its creative director. Behind the scenes, he hosted content, co-hosted a radio show with his brothers, fronted the competition series Brother vs. Brother, and even hosted a show about American amusement parks. He became a global ambassador for World Vision, using his platform for good. To those in the inner circle, JD was foundational, an entertainer, producer, and essential thread in the family business fabric. To the wider public, however, he remained the other brother, essential yet largely invisible. This dynamic did not breed resentment in JD. He approached his role with humility and humor, focusing on the collaborative joy of family endeavors rather than personal acclaim. Life in Las Vegas suited his multifaceted talents, allowing him to balance creativity with the practical demands of supporting the growing empire. He found love with Annalie Bell, a talented celebrity makeup artist and hairstylist born in 1988 in Amarillo, Texas. They met in March 2014 in Las Vegas through mutual friends at a bar in the Arts District. Annalie, who later worked on Property Brothers Productions, brought her own strength and understanding to the relationship. Their connection deepened quickly, built on shared values and mutual support. Everything changed around 2018, coinciding roughly with Drew's wedding to Linda Fan. What began as subtle brain fog, those hazy moments that busy people dismiss as stress or fatigue, escalated into something far more alarming. JD experienced episodes mimicking a heart attack. Constricted chest, numbness in one arm, rapid pulse, head pressure, and a bizarre crawling sensation inside his skull. Rushed to the hospital, Tests confirmed his heart was fine, but the symptoms were undeniably real. A neurologist later linked the crawling feeling to a rare nummular headache, but this was merely one piece of a much larger, baffling puzzle. The most debilitating symptom was an extreme sensitivity to heat. Anything above about 69 or 70 degrees Fahrenheit could trigger collapse, leaving him incapacitated for days. In Las Vegas, a city known for its desert heat, this was catastrophic. Ordinary rooms, mild days, even slight exertion became traps. JD became a prisoner of controlled environments, rarely venturing far from home or office. He described passing out unpredictably, moments where he genuinely believed the end was near. The invisible nature of his suffering amplified the tragedy. No obvious wound, no clear diagnosis, just a slow erosion of the active life he had known. The medical odyssey that followed was exhausting. Over more than a year, JD consulted rheumatologists, radiologists, multiple neurologists, a neurosurgeon, and an ophthalmologist. He endured dozens of blood draws, one session alone taking 25 vials, multiple MRIs, an MRA, an EEG, and more. Doctors probed possibilities like lupus and brain aneurysms. One radiologist was 99.9% certain no aneurysm was present. Yet each clear test brought not relief but deeper frustration. Life shrank. Work became difficult, travel impossible, normalcy a distant memory. JD often reflected on how wonderful his life had been before and how desperately he wanted to return to it. Through it all, Annalie was his constant anchor, carrying the emotional and practical weight for both. In July 2019, after 14 harrowing months, JD chose to share his struggle publicly in a heartfelt Instagram video alongside Annalie. He pushed back against any notion of exaggeration, emphasizing the real costs in health, time, and resources. It was not a cry for attention but a raw acknowledgement of his reality. He described preparing for the worst during one severe episode, writing out passwords, estate instructions, and an email to Annalie detailing final affairs, convinced he would not survive the night. This moment captures the profound isolation and fear of facing mortality from an unnamed foe. Annalie's role cannot be overstated. As a makeup artist on the shows, she made a pivotal connection with a functional medicine doctor featured as a homeowner. This led to breakthroughs. She had her own history of resilience, having endured brutal cyberbullying years earlier that pushed her mental health to dark places. She transformed that pain into advocacy for mental health and against online harassment. Her empathy and strength proved vital as she supported JD through hospitalizations, collapses, and uncertainty. In messages, he called her his hero, crediting their bond with literally keeping him alive. Relief came in September 2019. Diagnoses emerged: a gastrointestinal infection that was treated, possible fluoroquinolone toxicity, often called getting floxed, from certain antibiotics like Cipro, which can cause severe, long-lasting effects on muscles, tendons, nerves, and the central nervous system, and, most shockingly, acute mercury poisoning with levels so high that health authorities became involved. Mercury poisoning explained much of the neurological chaos. Brain fog, fatigue, sensory disturbances, and systemic breakdown. JD urged followers to avoid flox antibiotics when possible and began treatments to chelate the mercury, alongside dietary changes avoiding high-mercury fish. The source of the poisoning remained unclear, adding another layer of mystery. Recovery was gradual but hopeful. By early November 2019, JD reported feeling almost back to normal for stretches, a profound relief after so long. Mercury levels dropped significantly after initial treatments. The path forward involved ongoing care, patience, and lifestyle adjustments, but the fog was lifting. Amid this darkness, light shone through. On Halloween 2019, exactly 1 year after their engagement, JD and Annalie married in a joyful, theatrical celebration at the Lotus House in Las Vegas. Around 180 guests attended a vintage movie theater-themed event filled with color, costumes, and life. Groomsmen, including Jonathan and Drew, dressed as video game characters, joined the festivities. Annalie made a dramatic entrance on a black horse. It was no somber affair but a triumphant party celebrating survival and love. Their vows reflected the depth of what they had endured together. The couple has no children of their own but embraced family milestones, becoming aunt and uncle when Drew and Linda welcomed a son in 2022. Jonathan and Drew later renovated a home for them on Property Brothers Forever Home, creating a comfortable, fun space tailored to their journey. Today, JD is reported to be in good health, continuing to contribute to family projects, host, perform, and share comedy online. He has returned to the life he fought so hard to reclaim. J.D. Scott's story resonates because it transcends celebrity. It speaks to the millions who battle invisible illnesses, the family members who support quietly, and the older siblings who pave the way without seeking the glory. In the Scott family dynamic, he was the trailblazer who took the hits, the creative force behind the scenes, and ultimately the one who faced a near-death ordeal with dignity. His illness stripped away distractions, revealing the core of his character: perseverance, gratitude, and deep love for those around him. The tragedy lies not in permanent defeat but in the unnecessary suffering, the year of uncertainty, the physical limitations, the fear of dying alone in the night while preparing final instructions. Yet, it is equally a story of triumph. Through medical persistence, spousal devotion, and family bonds, JD emerged stronger. Annalie's unwavering presence transformed isolation into partnership. The brothers' humor and support provided continuity. In an era where social media highlights polished successes, JD's willingness to share vulnerability humanizes the Scott brand. He reminds us that behind every public face are private battles, and that strength often hides in those who work without constant applause. His return to performing, hosting, and family life underscores recovery's possibility, even after the darkest nights. The Property Brothers empire thrives on transformation, turning outdated houses into dream homes. JD's journey mirrors that: a life disrupted, nearly dismantled, and rebuilt with care, love, and determination. He may not command the same screen time as his brothers, but his contributions and resilience are integral. The other brother proved to be one of the toughest, facing an enemy no fame or fortune could vanquish alone. As JD continues sharing laughs and insights, his story offers hope. It encourages empathy for unseen struggles and appreciation for the quiet pillars in our lives. In the end, it is a narrative of family, fortitude, and the healing power of connection. J.D. Scott did not just survive. He reclaimed his narrative, stepping out from under the stairs not as a shadow, but as a beacon of what it means to endure and thrive. His tale, though marked by tragedy, ultimately celebrates the unbreakable human spirit and the love that carries us through.